Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. Dobson 777A here. And I'm down here in my basement. I hadn't even taken a shower or anything this morning, but I got notification that my chicks are on the way to my pickup location. And so they've had a long ride. Normally they're delivered in 2 days. This is 3 days, so they're going to be very stressed. So I've been down here trying to get my, I don't know what you call it. Is it the brooder part where they've been hatched? I think that's what it is. And I've got these 100-gallon water troughs that you get from Tractor Supply. I've got heat lamps, and I also have heat mats on the bottom. I've had the heat mats running for several days, and I just turned the heat lamps on this morning. And I cleaned out my feed container for where the chicks are going to eat from, and also the water containers the other day. So I've just now got them filled up. So let's take a look and see what I've got. All right, so this is my setup. They're these big long tanks. They're about 2 feet wide and 4 feet long. And inside I have shavings. And then I've got these are fence panel pickets that I've cut into strips to get the water off the shavings. See, that gets it off a little bit. And then also I have the same thing for the feed. Now I'll show you what I use for feed. I picked up some Start and Grow medicated, and I put couple scoops of that in the bottom, and then I've got Meat Bird, because these are going to be the chickens that grow to roughly 10 pounds in 2 months. And so you have to have this very high protein percent. So you see that's 22%. And for the first 2 weeks you keep feed in there. In fact, I think it's 10 days. For the first 10 days you keep feed in there 24/7. And then after that you take it away at night, because they're going to grow so dang fast that the birds can actually have heart attacks and break legs and all this kind of stuff if you feed them continuously. So these are beasts. Now, these are not genetically modified. These are just bred to be this way, and they're fantastic. You know, my freezer is just about empty, so it's time to do it again. So I'm going to have 15 of these in each one of these containers for a little bit over a week or so, and then I'm going to move them outside. It's still a little bit cold out there, so I'm going to get the pen cleaned out and ready for these guys over the next week, and they'll be ready to go. But time to go get some chicks now. Okay, it's a little bit later, and I've gotten got a little cleaned up now. Went and picked up the chicks, and I'll post something on the top to show what happened. These chicks somehow got sent to, the dog's trying to get in here, sent to the wrong city initially, and so it cost a day, and it's already stressful for the chicks during travel, but to add 1 extra day. They supposedly, when they're hatched, they have 3 days of energy in them, but when you add like rough handling, transport, and possibly, you know, cool weather, which we did have the last couple of mornings, it adds a lot of stress. So curiously, you know, I had a package of 30 chicks. So I had a package of 30 chicks. There were 15 on each side, and you can see that I have 4 dead on one side and none on the other. So there was 15 on each side, and so we had a high mortality rate on the one side. On that same side, I have a lot that are very puny, several I should say. The rest of them are kind of running around, but this is the one side. And then you look at this other side. These guys are doing very well. They're over here drinking. Quite a few of them are over here eating already. So there's only 1 or 2 in here still that don't look so good, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to watch these carefully. I've got to send a report in to the company, the hatchery that I got them from, and it's good to show a report initially what's happened and explain it wasn't their fault. This was the post office screwed up, and then we'll we'll see if I got to order another batch of 10. It's possible that I'm going to lose 10 out of here. The problem is, by the time the other ones get here, they're going to be a week younger, and they don't do real well mixed in with the larger ones because these grow so dang fast. So we'll see what happens. But I would have loved to had, at least 28 of these, but I'm already down to 26, and I can see I'm very likely going to lose 2, 3, maybe even 4 more. We'll see what happens. It's not really that big a deal because what that means is in the fall, I'll just do another batch. But anyways, that's where we're at. All right, Cornish rocks, they are approaching 1 week old, and they are eating me out of house and home. In fact, I have to pretty much fill up their water container every day now. Really nice size. We just woke them up. I'm going to combine these two together because I have 15 more coming in because we had such a bad batch the first time because of the transportation issue with the post office. Took an extra day of delivery and it just was too stressful, and I lost quite a few of these. So anyways, these will be combined together. They're going to be a week ahead of the other ones coming in. That causes troubles, but I'll have to keep them separated for several weeks till they grow up big enough to fend for themselves. I do have a way of dividing my pen out there, and I'll probably do that to keep them separate so they're safe enough to be together, because these things will grow roughly 1 pound a week. That's amazing feed conversion. It's also a lot of food. That's where we're at right now, looking good. All right, so I rotated all of my chicks out. This is called graduation day. And so I've got some Rhode Island red chicks, and then I've got a second batch of Cornish rocks, of which delivery was delayed, and 12 out of 15 died, so I have 3 left. And then over here, out of 30, I have 10 left. So I've ordered another 25 from a different hatchery another batch from a hatchery closer by in Alabama instead of like up in Indiana, Iowa. I forget where the heck the other one came from because it was taking 4 days for shipping. So I'm hoping that the next batch of 25 will do much better. But these are only, in a few more days, they're going to be 2 weeks old, where these are a few days old. So you can get an idea, looking at those yellow ones, how big these things have grown. One of the things I have here are some heat lamps, and I have them on a timer. Because these are so small, I decided to put a doghouse in here upside down. So there's an opening so the chicks can get in there at night, and then this thing should heat up pretty nicely and be warm. It was very warm this morning, or today, so they've done very well out here. It's hard to believe those are nearly 2 weeks old. They're doing great. For an example, these Rhode Island Reds are 2 weeks old, and you see how much smaller they are. Alright, so I've got my Rhode Island Red chicks here, and these guys have turned out to be amazing escape artists. I thought the other day I'd put this chicken wire on top, and I don't have it perfectly covered because just the light was kind of in the way, and I didn't spend a lot of time trying to do this, and I still have to easily remove it to be able to change the water and add some food and stuff like that. But anyways, I came out here this morning, and I had 6 escapees, and they were running all around the outside edge, and a couple of them had got over here in the larger chicks, which they don't seem to care. Look at that one over there pecking on the white one. He's like, why'd you do that? Let me come over this way so you can see that. He's just sitting there and said, why'd you pick on me? Anyways, the meat birds are looking a little goofy because they're in between getting their regular feathers. Now, I got these the first week of May, so we're approaching 1 month old. So these things pretty soon are going to be about 4 pounds, probably in another week, so that'd be the 7th. So they're probably 3 pounds right now. That's roughly how fast they grow. And then June 21st, I have 25 more coming in. Now remember, this is all I got left out of 45 that were sent. But the post office screwed these things up, and they were dying. So I have 2 that are very young compared to the rest of these, because there was only 2 out of 15 survived on the last batch. But they seem to be doing very well right now. And then I've got 12 of these Rhode Island red hens only. And they are just really fast. They run all around, they jump up and down, they, chest bump each other. It's kind of funny watching them. But, these are, let's see, I think they were 2 weeks old when I got them, so who knows? They're probably pretty close to the same age as these over here, but you can look at the size difference, humongous difference. But again, these are going to be egg laying over here only, where these are going to be the meat chickens. Now let me talk about meat chickens for a little bit. Meat chickens can grow so fast, they'll actually break their legs and have heart attacks and just fall over and die. So after a couple weeks, and you're supposed to feed them like 22% protein. That's the other thing. What you do is after a couple weeks, you have to remove the food at night. So you have 12 hours of food available to them and then 12 hours off so that they have a chance to grow, their body to catch back up. Otherwise, they will actually eat themselves to death. But by the time the 2 months is up, I will have some very, very large hens. And last year, some of these at the 2 month mark, especially the roosters were dang near 10 pounds. And so you end up with a 7.5 pound hen, carcass, I should say, to go in a freezer bag. And that's right at the maximum size it'll fit in my freezer bags. And I've got a lot of videos that show everything about this, but when I get the full 25 growing, and they'll have this whole cage by that time, I'll end up having these other ones because I'll have the 25 in here so they're probably about a month old. So I have 2 weeks inside in my little brooder that I've got, and then I'll bring them out here and have them in this small thing for about 2 more weeks. And by the time they're a month old, they'll need this whole thing for 25 of them. And then I'll have to do something with my Rhode Island Reds. I don't know if they'll be quite big enough to be out there with the rooster or not, but I need to start thinning the herd of my other hens, because these will now be a couple months old, and it'll be a couple more months before they lay eggs. But you can probably plan on about 4 months old they start laying eggs. Now you need to be feeding these probably 20% protein initially, and then you can back down to 18, but you need to keep them on 18 all the way till when they start laying. And then probably 6 months old or so, you can start switching to the 16% protein. And I actually will kind of throw in some scratch as well, because they love the scratch grains. It's like corn and oats and everything all mixture, but I tend to stick with this, what do they call it? It's like a granule version of food. If you can start them, get them used to the pellets, it's actually less messy, but I think it's the same price for both. So I've kind of just stuck with this because I find that the chickens absolutely love this the best. My rooster's up there making a bunch of noise, kind of interesting. Are we getting some water, babies? I'm filling this thing up with a scoop of feed almost every day now. And pretty soon this thing will not last a day, and that's why I've got the goat trough there. And I will fill that up, and at the end of the day, I'll dump that out. I don't know what the hens are doing up there. But anyways, that's what's going on with these. These are really easy to take care of. Chickens in general are very easy. So let's go look at the older hens, and here's my beautiful rooster right there. Go see what's happening. Now I've got a big old yard in the backyard here, and the hens, my laying hens and one rooster, are free to roam this whole area. And I actually have to get out here and mow this every couple of weeks and knock this down, but they just have a really good time coming out here and digging and looking for worms, and they really do kind of destroy the yard. So you're going to want to contain them somehow, because I've noticed even my doggone foundation supports for my rabbit thing are all being undermined by these chickens. So I'm going to have to do something here this year so that the whole thing doesn't just start trying to slide down the hill. So I haven't got a great idea yet what I'm going to do, but I got to talk to my contractor and we'll come up with a couple of other ideas, because eventually I'll probably be getting back into rabbits again. The chickens will just kind of follow you all around. They're very curious animals. And I've had these now they kind of grew up here. I grew these from eggs. Some of you have been following me for a while. But these are probably 2.5, 3 years old now. They're past time for a replacement. And that's why I've got the other 12 coming. So these older hens, unfortunately, are going to turn to stew, or if there's a friend of mine that might want them, and they still lay eggs, but a lot of them are just stopping completely now because they're just old. They just don't lay any more eggs. And they'll be basically dog food, because they're just going to be tougher when they're older like this. Those meat chickens are really the way to do it, because there's Doug laying out here in the sun, just watching me whatever I'm doing. He keeps an eye out for me. But what I've done for my chicken coop, I got lots of videos that talk about this, but this is a 10 by 10 dog kennel. And what I've done is bought 3-foot tall welded wire, and that's what's going around the outside here. And I found that that's really good for keeping predators out. And then in the winter time, I put these tarps up to kind of knock the wind down. It's about time to take it down, but I do notice it kind of keeps the dust down. It doesn't blow the stuff all over the place, and it seems to work well. You can see I've got one of the tarps taken down to where you can see what's going on. But inside here, I had started with these smaller chicken coops, which are really for nesting for the eggs, but also it really helps me when I've got a bunch of young chicks that I'm trying to keep them separated from the older hens for a while, or if I bring some newer blood in. So I had some chicks that I raised last year for a friend, and he gave me 4 of them back that he had grown up that are a year old. And so I brought them into the flock, and they're still very scaredy cat. So that's one of them right there. And then I've got, probably they're hiding over here. No, maybe they're outside. Oh, there's one sitting in there on the nest. So let's take a look here. Yeah, so I got one of them in there. But see, this one has multiple spots where they can lay eggs, but they always just lay them in that spot there. Don't ask me why. They'll fight over that spot. I do have another one over here. This is one that I got from Home Depot. I started with this one, but it's way too small for the flock size that I have. And I always have, this is the sweetest broody hen. But in fact, there's a fresh egg right there. One came in here and laid beside it. So I can pick that up. I've already got the majority of the eggs today. Stick this in my pocket and hopefully I don't break it. Let me see what we got underneath here. But these chickens are just the sweetest things when you've had them a long time. Yeah, those are ceramic eggs. I put ceramic eggs in my, I don't know if I can hold it over here so you can see. She is the sweetest thing. She kind of coos at me and everything. So I'm gonna set her down. I always put her down so that she has a chance to go get some water and eat, because otherwise she'll just sit there all day and not eat. Because when they're broody, they'll be there for 20 days, however long it takes for the eggs to hatch. But you can see this is where I raise my meat chickens and my younger chicks. It's another 10 by 10. You can see how there's a metal roof on there, very simple construction. You can see I ran these, those are structural lumber that I did from milling. And then I put my metal roof on there, but over here is just regular 2x4s that you get from the store. And I wired it to the top, and then I just screwed my panels onto it into the 2x4s. I think there's actually a 1x4 laying on top of those 2x4s. Yeah, that's what I did there. So that's actually a better construction. The other thing I did was I've got one of these sets of solar lights. So there's a solar panel on top, and then I think there's 3 lights. So 2 point back this way and 1 points inside to give the chicks some light. And then when it's cooler at night, I actually have heat lamps that are on a timer that come on. And when it gets super hot, I actually have that fan that I turn on. So that's about how you can do things. Now eventually those 25 chickens, when they get large enough, I'll be removing that inner barrier thing. It just screws together, and that'll allow me to just give them the full area, 10 by 10 area to grow up in. Last year, you might remember, I did start some turkeys in here for probably 2 months, and I brought them over to my friend's house who has a bigger property, and he finished them off. Oh, here's my babies. There's 3 of them. These are the ones, they haven't quite integrated yet. They're still trying to figure out how they fit in with this group. Rooster's checking me out, just making sure everything's okay. He's not one that lets me hold him or anything, but he's always watchful of what's going on. He's so cute. When I brought the strawberry tops out here and dropped them down, and he was right there with me checking me out because he knows I bring all kinds of gifts. I dumped it on the ground. He makes like a cute little clucking noise and calls all the other hens up. And he typically doesn't eat. He lets them eat. He'll go out there into the yard and he'll scratch an area and he'll call them over and say, look what I did, look what I did. And they'll find some grubs or something. But he really takes good care. I don't know if I can get a view of this, but his throat, something got a hold of his throat. We think it was a snake. I don't know if you can see that. But I put these ceramic eggs. This is another trick. I'm gonna tell you right now, it works really well. You put the ceramic eggs in there, and what'll happen if you collect your eggs often enough, the snake will eat the ceramic egg and it can't digest it and it'll kill the snake. But we get these eastern rat snakes, and some of them are really big. I did a video of one not that long, well, I guess it was 2 years ago. I kept trying to be nice, coax it out of there, but he got more and more aggressive, and eventually there weren't any eggs to eat, so he tried to eat one of my chickens. He actually killed one of my hens, and so the snake lost his head because of that. So anyways, that's something that you can keep an eye out for. Those ceramic eggs, they sell them at like Tractor Supply, and probably can even get them over at Cherokee Feed and Seed, I think is one of the other local areas. But I keep those in stock, so I usually put some on both sides of both of my laying boxes. And I just take a permanent marker and draw a line all the way around it so I can tell the difference between the fake egg and the live eggs, because they feel and look identical until you go try to crack it and you realize, whoops, made a mistake. All right, well, I think that's it for now.
I hope everybody's treating you well. I hope you're doing well. Do the best you can. God bless.
All right, go potty. We gonna go bye-bye? Are we gonna go bye-bye? Here we go bye-bye. Yeah. We gonna go bye-bye? Yeah, all right. You going to get in the car? We're not quite ready. I'm almost ready. You almost ready? Okay.